What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and today, here we are with another treasure map breakdown for preparation for this one versus Trafalgar Law starting October 12th, so make sure you get those teams ready. It's not far away, but Trafalgar Law being a very, very interesting choice, considering we're just coming off the Film Red celebration. A lot of people were expecting them to be, Halloween celebration coming next, but oddly enough, they're not going down that route. But let's go ahead and jump into the actual character breakdown of Trafalgar Law, and then we'll go through some accessible teams you guys may be able to build to get through this treasure map. So here we have Trafalgar Law, who is a Dex Cerebral Slasher, and he will go ahead and boost those two classes by 4x with a 1.2 health boost and 10% damage reduction. But if this character became the captain during the middle of the fight, he reduces damage taken by 70% and reduces the special bind duration by 2 turns. So it's kind of interesting. This is the first character swapping unit we've had that actually gives you additional utility rather than additional character multiplier. I mean, still, it's a free to play 4 times attack boost, so you can't really complain, honestly. And then the special ability changes block and colored slots or type slots into matching. And then if you have a cerebral or a slasher captain, extends the duration of your attack and all boosts by 2 turns, which is actually kind of cool if you're using it with Sengoku, for example. And then if the character is a crewmate, you can switch them out for the captain spot for 2 turns. I like that the captain swap is for 2 turns, so you can actually get around enemy preemptives on, when you're moving on to different stages. So that's actually kind of cool. Crewmate abilities, deck slots is matching. It's the most common slot to be counted as beneficial as a crewmate. It's pretty bad. Does he have a support effect? He does not. It's pretty lame, actually. And then his rumble stat, so he gives Dex allies 5 HP and 5 speed. And then a 28 CT that does a large range miss percent up level 5 and halving of speed. So a character that you're pretty much never going to see play in Pirate Rumble, but as a unit, he's just very unique. He's probably not going to see a lot of play, but I think he's probably going to be good in some niche content moving forward for the rest of the month. So moving on to the first Battle Rush boss is going to be against Smoker, who is a Psi-type unit, and with this quest, remember that the first of these Battle Rush bosses, you can use cooldown reduction on any character, getting -5. You also get block slots, and there is a 15 hit combo barrier, as well as a delay immunity and a counter stance, but there is an interrupt, and if you activate any type effect boost, which is color affinity, then your beneficial effects are removed, and you get 10,000 HP reduced on your crew. So obviously don't do that, but with this team comp right here, this is ideally using 6+ Uta as the friend captain, because if you don't do that, then you can't really use any color affinity boost. You can opt for a support, which is another really good way to get around it, but Uta gives you a really big orb boost and a really big color affinity, so if you have it, it just makes things a lot easier. If not, then, you can just opt to use a very similar team to this. Blackbeard is really nice. He gives himself a 2 times attack and orb boost on initial activation, which is pretty good. Sicilian can be an attack booster for the crew. We have Raiju to get rid of the block slots. This is a pretty easy fight, and there really isn't much to talk about. Moving on now to the second fight against Tashigi, who is an int boss, and with this one, Strength, Quick, and Psi characters are the characters that receive the special charge time, and on Battle 3, there's once again going to be more block slots and a 2.5 chain attack down, normal attacks only, and 3 hits of defense up and damage threshold on the enemy side of the field, and there is poison immunity, which is interesting. And then once you actually defeat Tashigi, she is going to revive and be a Dex unit instead of the int character, and also will limit the amount of specials that you can use for 3 turns, where you can only use 1 additional special. Now this team that we're using here is ideally using double Sabo with his 6+. Remember, Sabo was the previously released Pirate Rumble character, so everyone should have had access to this character, especially with that super evolution as well. And by using double Sabo, he does increase your chain multiplier by a pretty significant portion, which allows you to basically ignore the chain attack down that you would receive, as well as his super type special applying a multiplicative chain boost on top of it as well. Plus Sabo does give you a color affinity boost for strength and Psi characters, so you're having a mixture of both, being on the initial turn being int, and then on the revive being a Dex character, so having some variety there is always good. And then the Luffy and Whitebeard character are going to be very good because they change the block slots into tandem, and they also give you a 1.5 attack and orb boosting effect. So even though 1.5 isn't really a lot, Sabo's color affinity is significant, and the chain that you will have is also very significant. So a team like this with, you know, double Sabo and then Luffy Whitebeard as your crewmate, and then filling it out with other Psi and Strength characters is pretty much all you're really going to need to get through this fight. The third Battle Rush boss against Monet will give cooldown reduction to Fighter, Free Spirit, and Cerebral characters, and there's going to be unfavorable slots this time, and there's going to be a 99% health cut given to your crew, and your captains will also get 4 hits of Special Reverse, which obviously is not very good, and 5 hits of Special Bind to the crewmates only, with a delay immunity, and if you get to the end of that fight, then she's going to go ahead and do 10,000 fixed damage to the crew. But obviously a big issue here is that she gives you a really big health cut on the preemptive and then does a 10,000 fixed damage dealing hit. So you need some way to heal your HP back, or you need a really significant damage reduction effect. So the best case scenario here is to be using the Chopper character from the previous treasure map, as he does get rid of the special bind and he does heal you. So that obviously fulfills a lot of roles. Now with this team composition, this is ideally using the Super Sugofest Snake Man from Film Red as the friend, as the special reverse on his captain doesn't matter, and after you use the special ability of Chopper, that is going to fully charge his special ability, and then from there you're basically good to go. With Snake Man and the Chopper character as the sub, that's essentially all you need in order to get through this fight relatively easily. And now we move on to the final Battle Rush boss, is going to be against Vergo. Now Vergo is going to give cooldown to fighter, slashers, and shooters, and he will actually change his typing. So even though it says that he is an int boss, he can be any of the 5 colors, which means that you do need to run some pretty obscure teams. But there's going to be paralysis for 5 turns, 5 turns of attack down, and the enemy will have 5 turns of % damage reduction, and there is a tap limit. You can only tap with 4 characters with delay immunity as well, and normal attacks only, which is again very annoying. So there are 2 really easy, well actually there's 3 ways that you would want to be getting around this quest. The first one is this variation here with Bon Clay, because Bon Clay can change his type into whatever you want and always have type advantage. And you know, you have the Koala and also the Zora on this team, which can give an orb, attack, and color affinity with all of these 2 characters combined to Free Spirit characters. So we don't really need to change Bon Clay's classes, but changing his type into whatever is super effective means that we get, you know, his effect with his super type, which gives us a chain lock, attack and orb boost with Zoro, color affinity with Koala, and that's going to be enough to last a pretty long time, especially because we have double Bon Clay. If you don't have your own Bon Clay, then having a friend captain is going to be nice. But there is another opportunity to use the Super Sugofest Shanks. Even though Shanks doesn't receive the cooldown from the start of the quest, you can still definitely use him just for his super type, which can guarantee the type swap to be a strength character. So that's also another good way. And of course, the other way is to use a full team of one of every type, and also using Sengoku, which is the suggested way in the team comp, as you can basically fulfill whatever role you need. So if you have the entire Sengoku batch, this team basically builds itself, so you can definitely opt for that as well. So the Sengoku team, Bon Clay, or Super Sugo Shanks are going to be the 3 best ways to get around it, but of course you do need to get around 5 turns of paralysis, the 5 turns of attack down, and the 5 turns of Rainbow Shield. So Jinbei is the paralysis, and then the Brook is really good here because he gets around the attack down and the Rainbow Shield. So the final boss is against Caesar Clown, and Caesar is actually pretty annoying, but not as annoying as the Intrusion fight, which we'll get to in a moment. So Battle 1, there's a cooldown reduction to Quick, Psi, and Int characters. Battle 2, there's going to be normal attacks only, and Resilience, and 5 turns of damage threshold. Now, the Resilience and damage threshold you can deal with very simply with the free-to-play 5+ Shanks. He gets around 6 turns of those 2 debuffs, as well as giving you a chain boundary effect. He's a phenomenal character. And then when you reach Battle 3, there's a lot of gimmicks with Special Bind, Paralysis, Despair, 8 turns of attack down, and there is also a chain multiplier that a chain multiplier limit that also restricts your actual damage as well. So you need to exceed the 3.3 chain in order to get the normal attack inflicted on the enemy. So the way that we're dealing with this is this team comp is going to be using the friend captain of the brand new Super, not Super Sugofest, but regular treasure map Sugofest, Legend Hina. She's a really great character, actually. Unfortunately, haven't had a chance to really make a video about her yet. She is a phenomenal character. She's going to help a lot in this quest. She gets around 6 turns of defense up and attack down, so she'll be able to get around 6 of the 8 turns of attack down. The free-to-play 5+ Uta can also get around the attack down as well, so that's going to be very good to have, as well as potentially giving you a defense down conditional boost as well. And also, Uta provides a relatively good chain boost. It's a 1.1 chain boost, and with that, it means that if you hit all of your perfects, your last attacking character will actually exceed the 3.3 chain attack down, so you'd obviously end with the Hina friend captain, and that should enable you to kill the boss. We also have Shiki because he can give us a full board of slots and an orb boosting effect, which is pretty nice. And then Gordon gets around the paralysis and the special bind. And then we have Pedro, which is just another additional character we can use for color affinity, which is pretty good. So Caesar's actually pretty straightforward, actually. There aren't really too many crazy gimmicks, honestly. Shanks deals with a lot of stage 2, and Uta and Hina deal with a lot of stage 3. But obviously Gordon he actually adds a lot of additional gimmick removal here. And then Shiki and Pedro are kind of the characters you can, replace with whatever you want or whatever you have that is either a higher point booster or potentially gives you more damage in the long run. And now we get to the Intrusion battle boss, which is versus Law, and this guy is an absolute pain. There are so many different gimmicks in this quest, and honestly, the way that they have kind of structured the quote-unquote optimal team is a little bit weird, because we don't know how exactly the fight is going to be structured, but certain debuffs in this quest make things a lot more difficult than what it needs to be. But in terms of characters that actually receive the cooldown here, Striker, Cerebral, and Free Spirit is what you want to build for. And also preemptive on Battle 1 is there is a higher chance to land badly matching slots, which is not fun. And then you've got Battle 2, which is Paralysis, Defense Up, and there is going to be Bind to the top row for 5 turns, and because it's only 5 turns of Bind, it will only require you to remove 2 turns of it if you have your sockets maxed, which means that you can go ahead and have the Yasop support attached to Shanks, which I am using here. By using Shanks special on that stage, and it does enable us to just straight up get rid of most of the debuffs on that stage, which is fantastic. 5+ Uta making an appearance to get rid of the defense up on that stage too. And then when you reach Battle 3, you do have a lot of badly matching slots given. You get empty block and bomb slots, also cooldown reduction to the whole crew, which is where Sunny-kun is good because it gets rid of the cooldown and will give you a full board of matching slots. There's going to be burn, but there aren't really too many effective ways to get around that, as well as getting around everything else. So we're going to be using the Perospero, which is going to be very useful here because it gives us multiple turns of a 2.75 chain lock, because the actual chain multiplier attack down and the chain coefficient reduction lasts for 10 turns that is given to you on Battle 2, and the fact that you have Battle 3 to deal with and a revive to deal with means that there aren't enough ways to boost chain multiplier to get around it, which is why Perospero is on the team in the first place. Unless if the chain attack down and the chain coefficient reduction is removed upon killing Battle 2, this is probably going to be one of the best free-to-play options for you. Now, there's also 6 turns of defense up, which once again we're using the Legend Hina as a friend captain, which can give us a very good orb boost, but as well as getting around that defense up, which is fantastic. Now, when you actually defeat the boss, the enemy will inflict themselves with a 4 quick slot barrier. So you need to pierce the slot. You need to pierce the barrier 4 times with a quick slot to actually do damage to them, which is quite hefty. It's a lot. So you need to have ways to get those quick slots and lock them, which is why Hina is very good for this. And then also all type slots are counted as badly matching to the crew, which is why we have Sabo. Now, Sabo isn't really boosted by the team, but we can use him on Battle 3 to make certain slots beneficial, which means that the enemy's unfavorable beneficial effect is not going to be active on our side of the field. So that's the only reason why he is here specifically, is because of the badly matching slots that happens after we kill Trafalgar Law on Battle 3. Pretty annoying team in order to build for, but in theory, this should work effectively with that Hina friend captain, which is going to come in super clutch. So with all that being said, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I wish you guys the best of luck with your treasure map team building for this one versus Trafalgar Law. This one, once again, is continuing to be relatively difficult to build for. So if you don't have the good characters for this treasure map, then I would probably suggest to either bump down to Grand Line or select the Grand Line League to enable the bosses to be a little bit easier to kill. The gimmicks will not change between New World and Grand Line, but the bosses will have a lot less HP. So if you aren't too confident with your teams, you may want to do that, but it is really dependent on what you want to do, because I know a lot of people might not even get to those max rewards anyway. But that's going to wrap it up for me. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.